There are few messages more utterly transformative than the one that you're about to receive today. The video that we're about to show you originally aired a little over 8 months ago, and at that time was one of our all-time best received teachings that we had ever put out. We're about to take a deep dive into the laws of the universe and extrapolate out exactly how to live in alignment with each one and what the implications are when you do so. I absolutely love this topic because I have seen firsthand what living by these principles has done in my life and in my students' lives. And I want the same for each and every one of you. So get out a pen and a piece of paper to jot some things down, and let's get into it. In today's episode, I'm going to illuminate for each and every one of you the often mysterious rules, if you will, that govern the unseen realms. These rules that I'm going to illuminate for you all shortly are so powerful that even if you don't believe in them, they still rule you. You see, most people are so utterly asleep to the veil that has been pulled over their eyes. They don't even realize that we're living in a video game simulation. And if you don't realize that we're living in a video game simulation, then you likely haven't spent much time to study the rules to that video game simulation. And if you haven't studied the rules to this video game simulation, then you're very, very likely unaware that there are observable and measurable rules or laws that govern this 3D reality. I want you to name any secret society, regardless of which one you name. They are all obsessed with the esoteric and the occult. Have you ever asked yourself why that is? Why are the most powerful people in 2023 obsessed with studying the unseen realms? It's because they know the secrets that I'm about to share with you all today. The difference is they simply protect them at all costs. They never admit to knowing them, and they certainly do not teach outsiders them. So that's what we're going to gift you all with today. But first, I need to tell you a story. So I'm 20 years old, I'm a junior in college, and I had just been arrested and woke up in jail. Most of you should be familiar with this story. By any standards, I obviously did not have the slightest clue of the rules to the game, if you will, or my life would have reflected that back to me, and I would have had positive experiences repeatedly occurring in my life rather than the consistent shitstorm of negative experiences that I was attracting into my life. I was experiencing hardship after hardship after hardship, and at this time in my life, around 20, I felt like a total victim. I actually felt bad for myself, as if I had bad luck or that life was unfair. These are the stories that I used to tell myself. Totaling cars the day I bought them, waking up in jail, getting put on drug rehabilitation programs, you name it. I was unable to see the mirror in front of my eyes. And then one day, when I am at my lowest, a friend introduces me to something called The Secret on YouTube. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this now. Way back then, it was not very known. So I proceed to watch this little documentary style video alone in my dorm room, and tears start streaming down my face. I get full body chills. I will never forget this day because it was the day that I woke up out of my own victimhood. It was the last day in which I actually pitied myself. For anyone unfamiliar, The Secret is one of those new age documentaries with Oprah in it talking about the law of attraction. And while it is new age, and while there is far deeper metaphysical and esoteric knowledge you can dive into, this was perfect for me at that time in my life, for meeting me where I was at And it really opened my eyes to things that I was unable to see up until this documentary. Every single thing that had continued to play out in my life was my fault. It was my creation. And that was really why I was crying. It was half because I needed to forgive myself for my own ignorance, and it was half because I knew my life would never be the same. Strange cocktail of emotions, for sure. This was such a simple yet profound realization for me, because up until that day, my internal reality was that I had bad luck, or that the system was out to get me. Different stories I would tell myself around why are these things happening to me. I always blamed an outside force. But this was the first day I actually took ownership over my life. And everything changed from that moment forward. My entire life path was altered from this day. I became obsessed with learning the rules to the unseen realms. I started reading more and more esoteric and spiritual books, started getting more into Hermetic philosophy. And while The Secret only really talks about the law of attraction, this was a huge one because I was living my life asleep to the reality that I was creating all of my life circumstances and experiences over and over and over again. And I was genuinely wondering why my life wasn't changing. So I share that story with you guys to lay context for where I've been and to clarify that the first 20-something years of my life, I did not have the slightest thing figured out. Even if I had a connection to God from a young age that I couldn't explain and I was being divinely guided, I was asleep to that notion. And I didn't live by the right rules, if you will. So I suffered immensely. But that suffering, that very suffering, set the stage for a burning desire in me to begin to live right, which meant I had to figure out a set of rules, a set of core values that I could live by, which would harmonize my actions with the will of God. If I could do this, I knew I would be infinitely successful in anything I endeavored in, and would be highly favored by the universe itself. And it was this drive, this burning desire, that brought the 12 laws of the universe into my awareness and into my reality. And this was what really changed things for me. For the purpose of today's video, I'm not going to be touching on all 12 laws, but I encourage you guys to look into them, study them, so that you can reflect on them at a much deeper level after this video is concluded. It will be highly worth your efforts, I assure you. Now, as promised, I am going to delve into some of the mysterious rules to this game that we're all playing. And I'm going to make them so simple and practical, even a 7-year-old can understand and apply them. You guys ready? So the first rule or law, if you will, that would behoove you to align yourself with is the law of one, which basically just states that everything is one or everything is God. And when I began to really meditate on this concept and really sit with it to see how true it was and if it resonated and what it was speaking to, I really started to realize the deep truth in this basic law. I had fallen asleep to this notion of duality, and I would attract situations into my life where there was something outside of me, where there was a them of sorts, something to fight, me versus them, left versus right, good versus bad. I would continue to attract these situations into my life, which ultimately, this is all an illusion, and I'm creating my own suffering by pretending that everything isn't God. If you hear nothing else from this whole video, what I just said has the power to transform even the lowest person's life into heaven on earth. There is nothing other than God experiencing God. And most of us are living in a way where we somewhat feel like we know that, at least in the spiritual community, but then we get all wrapped up in them and they and the agendas and politics and the government, and we forget that all of this has already been written and it is God experiencing God. Relax. It's not that serious. It just seems serious when you fall asleep to it. So the law of one, my friend, is one of the most important laws to really integrate into your life, because nothing that I'm going to go over today is going to benefit you in any way if you just hear it, cognitively go, oh yeah, that's cool, now I know that, and you move on with your life. These have to become reverse engineered into core values that become tenets for how you live your life and who you are as a person. Then we have the law of vibration, which states that every single thing in the universe is vibrating, even if we cannot see it. Everything is made of particles that are constantly in motion, and they're vibrating to a certain vibration. And if you can understand this basic truth from physics, then the next obvious question to ask yourself is, how is my vibration affecting my reality? What type of activities, thoughts, people, environments, feelings, beliefs, vices, etc. lower my vibration? And what types of them raise my vibration? And then to take this law a step further, we have the law of attraction, which is based off the understanding that we are always vibrating at a certain frequency, and like attracts like in the universe. Frequencies that oscillate together at similar vibrational levels will attract each other in due time, which means that your thoughts, your actions, your unconscious fears, your paradigms, your feelings, your beliefs, and so on are all attracting your life experiences 24/7, always. Imagine living your life right now and not realizing that the reason your body looks the way it does, the reason your bank account looks the way it does, the reason your marriage or lack thereof looks the way it does, is because of you and what you unconsciously believe to be true about yourself and about the world. That is a pill most people just do not want to swallow, but that is the reality I am sharing with you today. And in my experiences, this is truer than true. There is no way to rise above victim consciousness if you do not become aware that there are rules in this domain, and they require personal responsibility of you and of me. There isn't some puppet master pulling strings making your life as shitty as it is. That's you doing that. The energetics in which we bring to the table consistently in life ultimately dictate what manifests in our reality. And usually we're manifesting all sorts of things that we do not want, and we're confused by that because we're not conscious of what we're actually bringing forth on a daily basis when it comes to our thoughts, feelings, actions, unconscious fears, beliefs, paradigms, etc. And then we have the law of cause and effect, which is one of my all-time favorites by far. The law of cause and effect, the way that this is taught in the Bible is what you sow, you shall reap. The way that this is taught in more Eastern philosophies like Buddhism or Taoism is the notion of karma. Regardless of what you gravitate towards or resonate with, we all seem to universally understand that there are consequences to our actions. And if you go around in life just taking from other people, living selfishly, wronging other people, or even just not pouring into other people, your sole purpose for your life is just to get, because you're in fight or flight all the time and you act in a very selfish, primal way, you will not attract the fruits that you wish to see in life. Hopefully that is obvious, but in a 2023 world, common sense is no longer common. We all probably nod our heads at that, but when we actually analyze our lives, are you really pouring into everyone around you? What seeds are you planting? The seeds aren't just your actions. You might think, oh, well, I'm a good person. I donate to charity. I don't speed. I help my neighbor, XYZ. But what are the thoughts and the feelings inside of you that you're repressing? What are the fears that you're constantly stuffing down? These are the things that are really the seeds you're planting. It's not the masks you put on when you pretend you're this personality or you're this fake persona that you show the world, that you show your friends, that you show your boss. It's the shit no one sees. Those are the seeds you're planting. That's your real karma. It's the shadows. How many of us are living in a way, for example, where we're praying, we're meditating, we're visualizing, we're asking God and the universe for a breakthrough in our lives, right? Please just give me a breakthrough, what I've been asking for. Yet we're overlooking God's clear rules that govern this realm. So here is my recommendation for some of you whom that might resonate with. Before praying for the 11th time about the same thing or trying to manifest it, why don't you assess yourself on the 12 laws that govern the universe and see how well your actions are aligned with each of those laws? Ask yourself, is the way in which I'm showing up aligning with all 12 of these laws? Am I in harmony with the universal laws? Spoiler alert, you're likely not, or you would have the reality you're seeking. My personal experiences have shown me that I can never and will never attract the effects or reap the harvest on crop that I have not sown myself. Yet I cannot find one person who wouldn't accept 10 million cash if I offered it to them right now. Are you really deserving of that, metaphysically speaking? What the hell have you done? What seeds have you planted to deserve a harvest that 0.001% of humans will ever experience? We must be delusional to yearn for these things, yet we overlook the exact rules that we would need to master in order to actualize these 3D rewards. All of us get caught up on the rewards, the effects. No one wants to be told that what's going to dictate their effects are the causes or the seeds that they're planting. You assume, oh, it's luck. Oh, they don't deserve that. I deserve that, XYZ. In actuality, it is the law of cause and effect at play. And this is why you should never be jealous of another person. Anything that anyone has, as far as I'm concerned, they have earned that through cause and effect. Now, that doesn't mean I agree with all of their life choices, but I am not God. And the last law I want to share with you all today is something that has really, really impacted my life, which is the law of rhythm, which states that everything in the universe operates in rhythms or cycles. There is no spring without winter. There is no fall without summer. You cannot have what most of us call the good times without having what most of us call the bad times. It's an ebb and a flow. There are seasons to life. The nature of all of this is seasonal, and yet we cling to a certain season we're in, right? We never want it to end, or when we're in a bad one, we think it's never going to end. We lose sight of the forest for the trees. So being keenly aware of the universe's cyclic nature allows me to align the way that I live my life with the notion of seasons. Rather than resisting my biology and how I've been created, I work with the grain rather than against the grain. And this is seriously one of the biggest life hacks I could ever give you. Understand the seasonality of your human experience and don't try to commit to long-term pursuits without honoring seasonality. There's gonna come a time for sprinting. There's gonna come a time for walking. There's gonna come a time for sleeping. There's gonna come a time for crawling. It just depends what season you're in. And you have to have the self-awareness to honor that, because you are no different from the tree outside. A quarter of the year, it looks dead. A quarter of the year, it's regrowing these little baby things that you don't even know what is going to come of it. Many of us spiral out of control when unexpected things happen to us. Our minds start telling us that it's always going to be like this. We're never going to get out of this. It's going to be this way forever. No, you're just in a season, Karen. There is no hero story without your dark night of the soul, your rock bottom. What goes up must come down. If you're going through it in life right now, it is because God is equipping you with all of the ammunition you will ever need to turn your pain into purpose, to turn your trauma into your superpower. So many of us pray for the sun but avoid the rain. Yet this is denying nature. It is denying the universe. It is denying God himself. What if everything you're going through right now is actually what you've been praying for? It is actually what you've been trying to manifest. It is actually what you have been asking the universe for. But you're not answering the call because it's disguised as pain. It's disguised as uncomfortability. It's disguised as anxiety. So many of us, we don't get what we want in life because we don't answer the call, because it doesn't come with a sexy pink bow that looks like relaxation. It might look like hard work. It might look like suffering. It might look like grief. It might look like loss. But that is the seasonal nature of how this 3D game works. There is no brand I now have. There is no multimillionaire reality I now have. There is none of this that I now have without the years and years of suffering, of living below my means, of anxiety, of self-doubt, of loneliness, whatever it may be that you're going through. I can assure you it is necessary. And the sooner you can stop feeling like a victim to your circumstances and you can start saying, thank you, God, for answering my prayers around what I've been asking for. Even though I cannot currently see how this is what I've been asking for, I trust that it is what I've been asking for, and therefore, you've just unlocked a completely different reality when you can start to co-create and communicate with God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, in that fashion. There are observable rules that govern this realm, my friend. And whether you're on your own wealth journey, your health journey, you're trying to be a better parent, you're working on leveling up your relationships, whatever it is, you cannot overlook and supersede these laws. I promise you. If you fail to live by these laws, you will struggle and you will suffer. If, however, you make a commitment today, right now, to begin studying these, print them out, derive your personal core values from them, reverse engineer, how do I need to live in order to align with all of these laws so that I'm living in harmony with life rather than in resistance to life? And then you do your best every single day to wake up and act in accordance with your core values that are now aligned with the laws of the universe. You will start to experience what many people refer to as miracles in life. You will get to experience what I get to experience on a continual basis in my life. Every single thing that I touch turns to gold. Why is that? Things that other people call impossible, I not only consider possible, I expect them to happen. Because when you live in accordance with God's principles, you are highly favored. Your actions are no longer just backed by egoic, selfish desires. You are loving the universe. You are loving yourself, and therefore you are loving God. And when you live this way, there is no more powerful force in the entire universe than love, my friend. And if you can harness love via devotion in the way that you live your life, you will unlock a completely, radically different reality. I pray that this message brings each of you clarity and plants seeds that will continue to sprout in your life in due time as they're meant to. Peace and love, my friends.